Welcome to the Girls Abroad podcast with Jordy and Santi.
We've been living abroad for the last 2 years. We share our highs and lows, our tips and tricks, and life in our 20s.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Girls Abroad podcast. In this episode, we're going to touch on living in small towns, coming from small towns, and leaving small towns. So we are from a small town called Whangarei in New Zealand. Let's set the scene a little bit.
We are really lucky in the town of Whangarei in the Northland region to have amazing, beautiful beaches. And on both West Coast and East Coast, we've got Ngunguru, Matapodi, Whale Bay. What else have we got?
Daisy Bay, Bailey's Beach.
Yeah, we've got a lot.
Yeah.
Waipu Cove.
I think our coastline made the top 5 coastlines in the world in National Geographic.
It was Matapodi.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Yep.
we are really lucky with the scenery that we have got.
Beaches don't hit the same after coming from Northland.
No.
Like anywhere you go in the world.
Exactly. Even the beautiful beaches in Bali, they're not as beautiful as New Zealand beaches.
Yeah, the waves are better. The beaches are not more beautiful, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small town. The population is 57,000, which means that everybody knows everybody kind of thing, or everyone knows someone that knows somebody.
And everyone knows everyone's business.
Yes. Walk into your local dairy, you get the scoop on what's been going on in the town.
And the scoop of ice cream.
So the scenery is really beautiful.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And I miss that very much after moving to a big, concrete jungle. But we decided to leave it. And in this episode, we'll get into the reasons why and just do a bit of a comparison between living in a small town and living in the big city. So I've given it a lot of thought, the difference between living in a small town and living in a big city, because really I grew up in big cities, in a small town. So I do have experiences with both, but there are great benefits to living in small towns. My personal belief is that I think that humans were made to live in small town communities, in more rural communities back in the day. But over time, obviously, social media, the Industrial Revolution, just more opportunities to be more financially stable that might come from living in a big city. But when you're living in a small town as well, there's more social visibility. You're more concerned about potentially tarnishing your reputation, which could mean that, you're more likely to do the right thing. You're more likely to help out your neighbor. I think there have been studies done where if you're from a small town, you're more likely to help your neighbor. You're more likely to receive help from your neighbor as well. I know for a fact, living in a big city, just in my condo.
No, I don't know the people who live on my floor. I don't know actually anybody in my whole condo, and I'm in a big condo, 5 buildings, 20 floors each. And I'll be honest, if I was to have any kind of emergency, I wouldn't be able to rely on anybody around me.
No.
I would actually be calling you.
Yeah.
4 train stops away going, hey, can you help? So I think it goes back to our second episode of feeling isolated.
Yeah, I think so. And with small towns, for example, back home, I know my neighbors, my neighbors on either side of our property, and they are so lovely. They would be there in a heartbeat if I needed. When I went away, they fed my cat and things like that. Yes. So those are the kinds of things that you also feel very comfortable doing in a small town. Yeah. Well, a small town like the one that we came from, at least. Not all small towns are the same. But I think also living in a bigger city, you have more of a disposable mindset. When you're coming across people, maybe you're less likely to want to get to know them because this is like one of 100,000 people that you're passing in a day. I think that there are many factors that come into this. And if you find the right small town, I think that
you could have a really comfortable life living there.
It's just about picking the right one.
It's like picking the right man.
You got to go through a few. I am obsessed with the Blue Zones. I read the Blue Zone Solution a few years ago. I read it in one night, and I thought that it was so fascinating. It's this worldwide study on the longest living communities in the world, the centenarians, I think they're called.
Is the Netflix show that's come out followed on from that book?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah.
And so they study their lifestyle, their diet, their friendships. They study the physical terrain of the places that these people live in as well. And so that's a lovely example of a small town community really benefiting you, and for that really to be the ideal situation to live in.
Yeah. Our small town isn't one of those. Where we come from, it wasn't in that Netflix show, nor was it in the book. However, just touching on the fact that small towns and communities, they can be really beneficial.
Yes, I think that there's also that community mindset as well. So people do not live to 100 usually in our town. It's not the healthiest town in the world in terms of diet and lifestyle choices. But those blue zones, that's just in their culture, you know. They were raised to eat the food that they eat. That's just how it goes, and that's how everybody does it. Whereas in our small town community, I think just how everybody does it is to have, you know, live on pies and that's
fish and chips at the beach.
Exactly. It's a generalization, but you know, you get the gist of it.
Generalization, but you tell me one person from Whangarei who hasn't eaten a pie or fish and chips at the beach. Come at me.
So linking this back to my readings on the blue zones and watching the documentary that's come out, it's pretty apparent that there can be a herd kind of mindset when you're in a small town.
Yes.
So a lot of people share the same beliefs. They live the same way. And that can be difficult if you don't agree with the way that they live and the choices that they make and their morals. Because on one hand, you can love the landscape and the physical environment that you're in. I loved Whangarei for that, but I wasn't always in agreement with the lifestyle. I wouldn't personally live and make the same choices as potentially a large majority of the town would make, I would say. Yeah. That's not to say their way is wrong. That's just to say that I have different beliefs. I have a different lifestyle preference.
I feel, in my opinion, if you are in agreement all the time with the people around you, it is comfortable. The discomfort that we felt is one of the reasons why we wanted to escape the small town.
Another thing, though, with the herd mindset is it's fantastic if you agree with the morals and the lifestyle of the town that you live in. But if you don't, which I didn't at times, you speak up, as I did. And that's fine. You know, there's a respectful way to do it, but it might be easy to feel like a black sheep. And that's okay. You know, you don't have to follow the crowd all the time, but it is nice to live in a place where the people around you agree with your way of life and your morals, your values, your ambitions as well, I think, is an important part of that too. I like that the Singaporeans are ambitious. They know where they're going, they know what they're working towards. Yeah. So while we both loved the physical environment of Whangarei, we chose to explore what else was out there, I guess, you know. And it's not to say we won't go back, because you are going back.
I am. I'll be back soon.
I may go back. Never say never. But for the meantime, I'm quite happy to explore other places, cultures, and ways of life and living. This leads us into the next part that we'd like to discuss, and that's deciding on whether your small town is right for you, or if it isn't right for you and maybe you want to consider exploring a different place.
And deciding whether a small town or a big city is for you, then you want to think about what your next steps are. So if family is your big thing, then stay where your family is, because that is what's going to make you feel comfortable and that's what's going to make you feel happy. Whereas if your season is traveling and wanting to explore the world, then being overseas, especially in a travel hub, I think that's more important for you to do. And like we say, you can always go home. What is your next 2 to 3 years of a season looking like, and what's going to make you happy for this time of your life?
I think you have to weigh up all areas of your life. So defining what season you're in can define your purpose. And I think that your purpose is really important. So for example, for me, my latest season has been all about travel. I've traveled so much and it's been so great and fun, but I'm now winding down from that a little bit. And while I will still travel, it's not up there in my priority, whereas family is more of a priority for my next couple years. My parents are going to move back to New Zealand soon, so I wanted to move back and spend more time with them in Malaysia. So you do have to define what season you're in. Yeah. And it kind of helps you amongst all of the noise and the fears and the difficulties that come with moving abroad. You've set your purpose for your season so you know where you're going.
And try not to make that season about your age, because I know that's a really big pressure at the moment of, well, I'm in my late 20s, so I should be settling down, I should be having babies, I should be buying a house. But actually think about what makes you happy, because like you said, I have kind of just come out of my travel season, and I really needed to get that travel season out of me, because I'm thinking the next step would be family. So thinking about prioritizing family, travel, partners, relationship. You can't unfortunately have it all when you move overseas.
I think it is important to think of your happiness, but also you do have to be a bit logical, you know? So if you're really wanting to travel, but you're going to go completely broke, take a step back.
That's not us, by the way, guys.
By the way, that's not us.
We're not speaking from previous experience this time.
We're speaking in general terms. There are ways to move overseas by doing it in a more financially stable way, which is the way we chose. But there's also ways to move overseas and do it in the fun, backpacking, working in hostel kind of way. Both are valuable experiences. It just depends what you want.
Let's get into sharing where we see ourselves in the future.
In the future, I hope to settle down in a smaller town. I don't think I'm made for the big city. I thought I was a city girl. I'm not. It's got to be the right kind of small town. So I'm on the hunt. Yeah. I might go back to Tutukaka.
Put your applications in.
Which small towns would like to have me?
girlsabroadpodcast@gmail.com.
But it's also so far away. You know, the older I'm getting, the more I realize how important it is to be around family. Our parents aren't getting any younger.
No, and we were just discussing this about how important it is to spend that time unjudgmentally with your parents, because you might have seen the TikTok trends around. Don't get angry at your parents. It's their first time living too. And that one hit us both, I think. And we discussed it and we were like, wow, love you, mom and dad.
Love you, mom and dad. I think I also felt, because I come from a traveling family, that, you know, no, it's fine. We're used to living in different parts of the world and we're used to being in different countries. But it does matter.
If you're in that travel season, it is a little bit different. And when you are thinking future, long term, being far away is daunting.
I actually met this lady in the summer and I loved my conversation with her. She went traveling when she was in her early 20s, I think. She came back home, did the family thing, had her babies, raised her children. She was a teacher as well. I forget exactly how old she is, in her 50s or 60s. And she's decided to go off and travel again, and she's going to do it solo. She's had her season of family. She's had her season of her career and her season of fun in her early 20s. And she's decided to go and do that again later on in life. Like, how cool is that?
Thanks for the wisdom, Auntie.
So don't think about age. In the meantime, while I'm looking to experience a range of cultures and all of that and experience a bit of life, I'm happy to be overseas. But yeah, settle down eventually. And what about you?
Similarly, I see myself living on the coast somewhere. Who knows if New Zealand's house prices are going to go down by then, but I get a little bit torn. A big part of me loves travel, loves seeing new things, meeting new people, just experiencing, like you say, different cultures and the way people live, just to challenge my own understanding of the world. And that comes from living overseas, being in big cities. However, the other side is pulling me. Family, go home, settle down. And it's tricky to figure out what I want. I go 1 week, I'm saying, yeah, I want to move to Japan and I'm going to do a 2-year contract there and I'm going to love it and be like, woo, so much fun. But I'm not getting any younger. My parents need to see me. My dogs need to see me. But I think just in general, there is more pull to go home. Small town vibes for just a little bit. I do want to get a house, have kids. And I think that is my next season. However, I don't want to lose the season of travel.
Just like your small town's always going to be there, travel will always be there as well.
Yes. And now we come to our last segment, Quick Fire 5. This one is going to be about the 5 best beaches in our opinion. So don't come at us, haters. This is what we think. And we might be a little bit biased being from up north.
I think Northland has the best beaches in New Zealand, though. And I don't think that is super biased. I think anyone that's traveled the whole of New Zealand could agree. South Island has nice beaches, too, which we're not super familiar with. So this might not include the South Island.
Not in any particular order. I really like Pātawa, and that is also in Whangarei. What I like about it is the fact that there are 2 sides. So there's Pātawa North, Pātawa South, and one side is estuary. The kids can play in there. You can lie on your floaty if you want.
You can jump off the bridge?
Yes, you can jump off the bridge. And then there's the other side, north, which is surf.
There's a bit of everything for someone.
Exactly.
One of my favorite beaches is at the Mount. It's just so beautiful. The actual mount is there. You can climb up the mount and you can look over. There are nice cafes nearby. There's a bit of surf if you're lucky, I think.
The stretch of the Mount Beach that kind of gets down to Papamoa, definitely a lot of surfers out there. You're right, it makes a difference when the beach is kind of in the city. Whereas most of the beaches up north, they're not. You actually do have to drive through the wop wops, but the Mount Beach, you're right there.
You can grab your matcha, you can get all the trendy drinks, and you can be on the beach in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Number 3, I'm going to steal Matapoti, only because it is beautiful there. Nighttime, daytime, sunset, sunrise, you name it. It is beautiful.
Sometimes you get little waves that you can paddleboard surf on.
Yeah, paddleboarding, body surfing, bodyboarding.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sand there. So if you're a family wanting to play sports, that's a really great place to be. Around the corner is where you can kayak. And if you were lucky enough to visit the mermaid pools there as well.
You can't now. Don't even try. Rahui on it.
Yeah.
It's also connected to Whale Bay. And Whale Bay is just so beautiful. And Pebble Bay is just around the corner, which you can walk to, and that's beautiful as well.
Again, one of the ones that you hike to. So you kind of got to work for it, which makes it nicer when you get there.
It's rewarding.
Yeah.
Another one is Spirit Bay. I hiked there once for an outdoor red trip. The actual bay is beautiful. The hikes around there are just unreal. The scenery is beautiful. The water is beautiful. The sand is lovely. It's a great beach as well if you're a hiker.
That ain't me.
No, I don't know if it's the kind of beach you like bring your family to and play beach volleyball, but it's beautiful.
And we were semi-arguing about this top 5. So there are so many other amazing beaches that we would have loved to have put in our top 5, but there are just so many. We can't have you all.
So that wraps up our top 5 beaches and our episode. Hope you enjoyed, and
we will see you next time. Peace.